I'm Melina Weiskup in for Steve Lance tonight. The ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas was announced just yesterday, now appears to be in limbo. Israel has accused Hamas of making last-minute changes to the agreement. NTD's Jason Perry has the update.
Just a day after the announcement of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, Israeli government spokesperson David Mencer made this statement about the agreement.
The Prime Minister's office has made clear that Hamas have reneged on this hostage release agreement and has created a last-minute crisis in an effort to extort last-minute concessions.
And he said one of the last-minute changes Hamas wanted was for Israeli forces to pull away from the Philadelphia corridor, which is the Gaza Strip's border with Egypt. Israel has said it's important to have troops there to prevent weapons from being smuggled to Hamas. The last-minute change could postpone the start of the ceasefire, which was set to begin on Sunday, January 19th.
As such, the Israeli cabinet cannot meet to agree this deal. It cannot convene until the mediators notify Israel that Hamas has accepted all elements of the agreement that were already agreed.
On the other hand, a senior member of the Hamas terrorist group denied the claims about wanting last-minute changes and said they fully agreed to the deal that was announced on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he wasn't surprised by the last-minute issue.
A process and a negotiation that has been this challenging and this fraught, you may get a loose end. We're tying up that loose end as we speak. I'm very confident that this is moving forward, and we'll see the start of implementation of the agreement on Sunday.
One man whose cousin's body was taken to the Gaza Strip during the terrorist attack on October 7th shared his thoughts on the situation.
First of all, even though Trump said the deal is sealed, it hasn't been yet. And for us, when we have seen so many disappointments over these past 15 months, you know, if this saying were ever true, I'll believe it when I see it.
And a displaced resident in the Gaza Strip shared his thoughts.
We became optimistic about that situation, and we slept happily and had hope. And then suddenly we learned today about that news, and it was a shock to us.
The Israeli Prime Minister's office said in a statement on Thursday that the Israeli cabinet will not convene until the mediators notify Israel that Hamas has accepted all elements of the agreement. Jason Perry, NTD News.
And on Capitol Hill, it's day 3 of confirmation hearings, which so far have been a formality, with Republican senators publicly backing Trump's nominees. Our Washington correspondent has the latest from the Senate.
4 more of President Trump's nominees faced confirmation hearings this Thursday. Scott Bessent, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of the Treasury, urged senators to extend that Trump-era tax cuts. Otherwise, the U.S. economy might face calamity.
Today, I believe that President Trump has a generational opportunity to unleash a new economic golden age that will create more jobs, wealth, and prosperity for all Americans.
Former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of the Environmental Protection Agency, faced strong opposition from Democrats.
I must say that his role at polluter-funded organizations such as the America First Policy Institute and America First Works, his long list of Trump-affiliated consulting clients, and his anti-climate op-eds paid for by dark money organizations do not give me confidence that he will be an honest broker if confirmed to lead EPA.
If confirmed, I pledge to enthusiastically uphold the EPA's mission. I will foster a collaborative culture within the agency, supporting career staff who have dedicated themselves to this mission. I strongly believe we have a moral responsibility to be good stewards of our environment for generations to come.
On Thursday, Senate Democrats maintained their strong opposition to the nomination of Pam Bondi for next U.S. Attorney General. During today's hearing, senators pressed character witnesses on Pam Bondi's involvement in election fraud claims dating back to 2021.
Reports about her being very equivocal about acknowledging that Joe Biden legitimately was elected president in 2020, that would raise a major red flag with me if she's buying into bogus conspiracy theories about that election.
Well, let me tell you what I make of it, because I was at the hearing. Number one, the Democrats are out of material for Pam Bondi if they're spending time talking about Kash Patel. And number two, they're weaving a false narrative that when he comes before the nomination hearing, we'll be busted. Media's going to have to come up with a new way to define him.
Doug Burgum, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Interior Secretary, and Scott Turner, the nominee for HUD Secretary, also received their confirmation hearings on Thursday. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And President-elect Trump is reportedly weighing executive actions to stop the Chinese app TikTok from soon getting banned in the U.S. But some GOP lawmakers say no concessions should be made, as the CCP is determined to spy on Americans. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
And President-elect Trump, who's taken office one day after TikTok is set to be banned, is reportedly considering an executive order to suspend the ban's enforcement for 2 to 3 months. The move, reported by the Washington Post, will mean that TikTok could get more time to find an American buyer. It comes as Democratic leadership on Thursday say they want to work with Trump to buy TikTok more time.
And I will work with the Trump administration and with both parties to keep TikTok alive while protecting our national security.
Reports suggest that TikTok CEO Shou Zi-Chew will attend Trump's inauguration. Despite Trump recently saying TikTok has earned him young voter support, he supported a ban during his first administration, citing national security concerns. Meanwhile, Republican Senator Tom Cotton says the risk remains real and that no concession should be given to a Chinese spy app.
There will be no extensions, no concessions, and no compromises for TikTok. ByteDance and the Chinese communists had plenty of time to make a deal. Instead, TikTok whined, lied, complained, sued, and lobbied. Oh, how they lobbied.
Senator Cotton, who's the chair of the Intel Committee, on Wednesday blocked Democrats from extending the deadline for TikTok to be sold. Cotton asked that the Chinese Communist Party is urging its U.S. users to speak out for TikTok, which is
a foreign power egging them on, meddling in our politics, influencing our legislative debates.
Documents have revealed that TikTok leadership reports into Beijing and that the app censors content critical of China and harvests data from Americans. The Supreme Court suggested that threats posted by the company's connections to China override its arguments about free speech.
Congress is fine with the expression. They're not fine with a foreign adversary, as they've determined it is, gathering all this information about the 170 million people who use TikTok.
While some TikTok users have recently moved to another Chinese app called RedNote, Chinese officials have reportedly warned RedNote that it needs to ensure its China-based users cannot see posts from U.S. users.
Because it's also controlled by the Communist Party.
Unless the Supreme Court intervenes by Sunday, TikTok is set to disappear from app stores the day before Trump takes office. And even if it finds a U.S. buyer by Sunday, it will still need to go through a legal review to make sure that China retains no residual influence over the company or its algorithm. Reporting by Iris Tao, NTD News.
And with President-elect Trump set to take office in just a few days, here's a look at his official inaugural portrait and that of Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Trump's chief photographer released these images on social media yesterday with the caption, "We are entering the golden age of America." Both Trump and Vance will take the oath of office on Monday in Washington, D.C. After giving a farewell address to the nation last evening, President Biden is now wrapping up his final days in office. Today, he delivered remarks at a farewell ceremony at the Department of Defense, and Friday, he'll be speaking to the U.S. Conference of Mayors. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has the details.
President Biden received a farewell from the armed forces in a ceremony at the Department of Defense Thursday afternoon. Representatives from all U.S. military branches attended, as well as Vice President Kamala Harris. The event was hosted by the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Thank you, Mr. President and Dr. Biden. May God bless you and your family. And may God continue to bless the United States of America.
The only nation in the world, only nation in history built on an idea, an idea that we're all created equal.
Former President Barack Obama shared a message on X honoring Biden's presidency. He says, "I'm grateful to Joe for his leadership, his friendship, and his lifetime of service to this country we love." Biden also issued an executive order taking additional steps to address, quote, malicious cyber-enabled activities against the United States and U.S. allies and partners. In a Thursday statement to Congress, Biden said significant malicious cyber-enabled activities continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. Biden's statement says this move is in accordance with a continuing national emergency and addresses increasing threats by foreign actors, including unauthorized access to critical infrastructure, ransomware, and cyber-enabled intrusions and sanctions evasion.
So I thank you all, and with that, I'm going to pull out this Sharpie.
On Thursday, Vice President Kamala Harris added her signature to the desk in the vice presidential ceremonial room. The tradition goes back to at least Vice President Dan Quayle in 1993. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
And moving on to updates from California, Pasadena Humane is serving as an emergency evacuation center for animals impacted by the Eaton fire, from dogs and cats to goats and even a tortoise. They've taken in hundreds of animals, providing critical care and support during this crisis. NTD's Christina Corona shares more.
With the recent wildfires, hundreds of animals are in desperate need of urgent care and shelter. We're here at the Pasadena Humane Society, where hundreds of pets and wildlife are being treated and cared for as they recover from the impact of the disaster. So far, the Pasadena Humane Society has taken in over 700 animals. Kevin McManus, the PR and communications manager at Pasadena Humane, shares what types of animals they have taken in.
And that includes everything from dogs and cats, your traditional pets, occasionally like a rabbit or a guinea pig. We've even gotten some parrots, some exotic like tortoises, and we've also taken in wildlife.
They even rescued a pig with burns on its belly, a peacock, a cockatoo, and a 5-day-old puppy that was discovered under a collapsed building. The most common injury among affected animals are burns, followed by smoke inhalation and dehydration. They have an animal ICU with several of their veterinarians and relief veterinarians from other shelters stepping in to provide care.
The first step is triage to start treating the injuries, pain meds, fluids, and then kind of setting up a treatment plan. A lot of the animals with smoke inhalation have to stay in the ICU because we have oxygen chambers for them to recover in.
He explained that in order to take in animals displaced by the fire, many of the shelter's existing animals were transferred to other organizations as far away as San Diego, Sacramento, and Santa Barbara. Pasadena Humane is working with the ASPCA and American Humane to send strike teams of specially trained animal control officers door to door in burn areas, rescuing animals left behind. And how can the community join in to help those at the Humane Society?
Well, at this point, the best way for us to help animals is by buying the very specific needs for each animal. We found that with the wide variety of people's pets that we've taken in, we have to supply them with food, proper housing, lights in some cases. So a monetary donation is the quickest and easiest way for us to really help the animals.
Donations can be made at give.pasadenahumane.org. So if you're planning to adopt or foster, be prepared to wait. The Pasadena Humane Society is processing over 20,000 applications for animals that may have not been claimed by families yet or may have been strays. Reporting from the city of Pasadena, Christina Corona, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.